All right, this first problem is actually your problem of the day. You had to determine if it shows a linear relationship. If so, write an equation, and then estimate y when x equals 20. Well, I would probably start off by actually graphing that. And it is linear. The equation would be y equals 11x. So after 20 minutes, it would be 220. Y would equal 220. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at symmetry of quadratics. So in our first example, we've got -2 times quantity x plus 3 quantity squared plus 4. We want to label the vertex and axis of symmetry. Well, we've got -2, h is -3, k is 4. So our vertex is going to be at -3, 4. Axis of symmetry is x equals -3. What they've done here is they've taken a value of x that's to the right and to the left of that axis of symmetry, plugged them in, plotted those points. I said when it was to the left and to the right, you're going to plot whatever's to the left is going to be symmetrical to what's on the right. And then you're going to draw a parabola through those plotted points. Pretty straightforward. So if I were taking notes, you might want to take a second and stop. This is written in standard form. And if it is written in standard form, you can easily find what your axis of symmetry is. It's -b over 2a. We talked about this in Algebra 1, so hopefully this is review. When absolute value of a is greater than 1, it's wider. Oh, it's narrower, and then wider when it's less than 1. So if it's a fraction or a decimal, it's going to be wider. That'll be your x-coordinate is -b over 2a. To find your y-coordinate, you just plug it in. The y-intercept is c, your constant. So first one, we've got to graph 3x squared minus 6x plus 1. We want to label the vertex and axis of symmetry. Well, your a is 3, your b is -6, and your c is 1. And because a is positive, it's going to be opening upward. So we always want to start by finding the vertex. We have to figure out what that x-coordinate is. Opposite b over 2a. In this case, it's 1. We're going to take 1 and plug it in to find the y-coordinate. So f of 1 equals 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 1. And you get -2. So your vertex is 1, -2. Go ahead and plot that point. Your axis of symmetry is going to go through that point. It's x equals 1. And then your y-intercept is your c-coordinate, or your c value, which is 1. Draw the mirror image on the other side. We're going to evaluate the function for another value of x, and it's up to you what you choose. So 310. Let's scroll that up. And then you do, so if you notice that's 2 spaces from the axis of symmetry. Go over 2 spaces, draw the mirror image, and voila, you've got a beautiful parabola. All right, these are, you try, take a second. It's probably going to take 5 to 10 minutes to do these. My advice is work neatly. Go ahead and hit pause. Give these a try. And then when you're done, check them. All right. Minimum and maximum values. Minimum, just what it sounds like. low point on the graph. If your A is positive, you're going to have a minimum because it's going to be opening upward. If your A is negative, you're going to have a maximum, and that's going to be your vertex. It's going to be the high point. This part of the graph where I'm running the cursor is decreasing because it's going downward. Then it's got your minimum, and then it starts increasing because it's going upward. The values of y are increasing. Here, when a is less than 0 or it's negative, it's decreasing until you hit the maximum. It's increasing as you hit the maximum, and then it starts decreasing because your y values are going down. So your minimum value on that first graph is your y value. Your domain is going to be all real numbers. Your range is y is greater than whatever your y value is for that minimum. And this tells you where it's decreasing and increasing. If I were taking notes, I'd probably pause for a second and copy this. So we want to find the minimum, maximum, or maximum, and describe the domain and range and where the graph is increasing and decreasing. So A is 1/2, B is -2, C is -1. Figure out what your axis of symmetry is. Plug that in to your original equation. That'll give you your y-coordinate. So the minimum value is -3. The domain is all real numbers. The range is y is greater than or equal to -3. And it's decreasing on that left side and increasing on the right side. Take a second. Try these on your own. Probably will take about around 5 minutes. Then you want to check your answers. All right. Sometimes your graph will be given to you in a factored form, such as A times quantity x minus p times quantity x minus q. And your intercepts here are going to be p and q. That's where it's crossing your x-axis. Well, you could tell that between your two intercepts is going to be your axis of symmetry. So that's where that p plus q over 2 comes from. It's directly in between your intercepts. So on this one, we want to label our x-intercepts, the vertex, and the axis of symmetry. Well, pretty easy on this one. Our intercepts are at -3 and at 1. Now we want to find the coordinates of the vertex. The x-coordinate is going to be between your two intercepts, which is -1. Plug that back into your original equation and you get 8, so your vertex is at -1, 8. It's opening downward because we've got our a value is -2. And that makes sense because our vertex is above our intercepts. And you can always check yourself using Desmos. Okay, try these two on your own. Let's see how you do. All right, everybody's favorite word problem. And your first step on any word problem is going to be to understand the problem. As I've said a couple times, read the problem twice, 3 times, however many times is needed. If they have a picture, really stare at that picture. On this one, we've got a golf shot. They give us the function. They're giving us the function, though, of the second shot. Make sure you read that. Then we have to figure out which one travels further, the one that's in the picture or our second shot. So make a plan. Right there, they're telling us that our intercepts are at 0 and 100. And that makes sense because that's where it's hitting the ground. Your axis of symmetry would be between those two intercepts at 25, or at 50, I'm sorry. The maximum height is 25. And that's given to you right there. So our second shot, they tell us what they've done here. They didn't give it to you factored, but they went ahead and factored that. And that's just x minus 0. That's the same thing as x. So your intercepts are 0 and 80. You can tell right now that it only traveled 80 yards. It didn't go nearly as far. You can go ahead and find that maximum, because your axis of symmetry is going to be between your two intercepts. So the height on the second one was 32 yards. The first shot traveled further, but the second shot looks like it might have been a little bit higher. All right, that's all we got for today. Hope you enjoyed.